Hello and welcome. Today we're jumping right into Unit 1 of our BZYCT 133 course. And let me ask you something. Did you know that the secret to conquering the entire planet, to flying through the air, even surviving in the deepest parts of the ocean? Well, it's all written right on our skin. In this explainer, we are diving deep into the integumentary system, the incredible, ever-changing armor that every single vertebrate wears.
Welcome to Silverlight Education. So, to kick things off, I've got a question for you, and it gets right to the very heart of our own biology. Go on, take a second and really think about it. What is the single biggest organ in any animal with a backbone? And that includes you. I'll give you a hint. It's not your brain, it's not your liver, it's your skin.
That's right, your skin. Or, if we're going to be scientific about it, the integumentary system. And it's a huge mistake to think of it as just some simple covering. This thing is an incredibly complex composite organ. We're talking the skin itself, plus everything that comes from it. Hair, feathers, glands, you name it. It's our #1 line of defense, it's our personal thermostat, and it literally keeps us from drying out. And for some animals, it even works as a lung. It is absolutely essential for life.
So how in the world does this smart covering actually work? Well, it turns out that all vertebrate skin, from a tiny fish to a huge whale, is built on this fundamental two-layer blueprint. This basic design is the starting point for all the amazing diversity we're about to get into. And what's really fascinating is just how different these two layers are. You've got the outer epidermis, which comes from the ectoderm, and it has no blood supply at all. But right underneath it is the dermis, which comes from the mesoderm, and it is packed with blood vessels and nerves. It's this constant back and forth between these two very different layers that gives rise to pretty much everything, from scales and feathers to our own hair and even our teeth.
And right here, this is a process that totally changed the course of evolution. Keratinization. This is it. This is the key to how vertebrates conquered the land. See, epidermal cells started producing this incredibly tough, water-insoluble protein called keratin. And this process basically creates a protective shield, a barrier against the dry environment that was, no exaggeration, absolutely revolutionary.
Okay, this is where the story gets really cool. Evolution took that basic two-layer design and just ran with it, tweaking and modifying it for life in wildly different worlds. And our journey, of course, begins where all life did, in the water.
Fish skin is a world away from ours. Its surface is a living, breathing layer, not a layer of dead cells like ours. It's covered in this slick coat of mucus that's just brilliant for fighting off infections and, of course, for reducing drag, letting them just glide through the water. And here's the key detail. Their scales grow from deep inside the dermis. Now remember that. They are dermal scales.
So when animals first started moving onto land, their skin had to adapt in a big way. Take amphibians, like frogs. Their skin is so remarkable, it's so thin and specialized, that they can actually breathe right through it. It's a process called cutaneous respiration. Now the trade-off is that they're pretty vulnerable, so they've got other defenses. Mucus glands keep them from drying out, and in some species, incredibly powerful poison glands offer a deadly warning. The poison dart frog is the most famous and fatal example of that. But the true masters of living on land, that would be the reptiles. They basically perfected the terrestrial lifestyle, and it's almost entirely thanks to their skin. In reptiles, keratinization goes into overdrive, creating these tough, dry scales. And this is a super important distinction. These are epidermal scales, formed from a fold in the outer layer. They are completely different from the bony dermal scales of a fish. This waterproof suit of armor is what truly set them free from the water.
All right, now for a statement that might sound a little bit shocking when you first hear it, but believe me, it sets up our next step perfectly. How do you get from a lizard's scales to a bird's magnificent wing?
Well, the answer is that feathers are, in fact, highly modified reptilian scales. They're an absolute evolutionary marvel, lightweight, incredibly strong, an amazing innovation for flight, for insulation, and for communication. Birds also have this unique gland, the uropygial gland, right at the base of their tail that makes oil to waterproof their feathers. And get this for a surprising fact, some birds, like the hooded pitahui, even have toxic feathers to warn off predators.
And that brings us to the final chapter in our evolutionary journey, the mammals. Our entire identity is written all over our skin through our own very unique derivatives.
So what makes a mammal a mammal? Honestly, just look at the skin. We are defined by hair, which gives us critical insulation. Our skin is just packed with glands.
sebaceous glands that give off oils to condition our skin and hair, and of course sweat glands that act as our own personal air conditioning. And then there's the most distinctive of all, mammary glands, which produce milk to nourish our young. Every single one of these is a unique innovation of the integumentary system.
But this system is so much more than just a covering. It's like nature's ultimate toolkit, producing some of the most impressive and, frankly, surprising structures in the whole animal kingdom. So let's clear up a few common points of confusion.
All right, here's a classic one. We see them on all sorts of animals. But are horns and antlers really the same thing? What do you think? Is there a difference?
The answer is a definite no. They are fundamentally different. True horns, like what you'd see on a cow, have a bony core that's covered in a permanent sheath of keratin. They don't branch, and they just keep growing their whole lives. Antlers, on the other hand, think of a deer or a moose, are pure bone. They're usually branched, and in one of nature's most incredible tricks, they are completely shed and regrown every single year.
Okay, ready for another one that might trip you up? For hundreds of years, people have called it whalebone. But is it actually bone?
Nope, not at all. The name is completely misleading. It's actually baleen, and it's made of keratin, the exact same protein that makes up your hair and your fingernails. These huge, flexible plates hang down from the whale's upper jaw, and they act like a giant sieve, straining tons of tiny krill from the water. It's just an incredible example of how versatile one single protein can be.
You know, it all really comes down to this one simple but really powerful idea, and it's captured perfectly in this quote. The integument is the critical border between the organism and its environment. It's not just a wrapper, it's the dynamic interface where life meets the outside world.
So, you see, the integument is so much more than just skin deep. It's a dynamic, adaptable, and absolutely essential system that dictates how an animal survives and thrives in its world. The next time you look in the mirror, just remember you're looking at the living, breathing result of a 500 million-year evolutionary story. We will meet you in next lecture.